Now, Robin Sage is a very different beast. I was fortunate. The lane that I was in, we were actually working with descendants of the Montagnards. So the Montagnards are part of the Mike Force in Vietnam. And 5th Group Green Berets worked with the Indigenous people, the Montagnards, and they hated the North Vietnamese. And they trained them, and they would go out. And I actually just met a Green Beret, former Green Beret, Scott Hoffines, 80-year-old 5th Group Green Beret, worked with the Montagnards, had some great conversations with him in terms of, they would go out for like 30 days in the bush.
Vietnam too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you want some perspective of how good we've had it at war, right? Talk to that man, right? And it's 30 days going after doing ambushes, patrolling, long range reconnaissance patrol with this indigenous force that they trained and then they advised. So my Robin Sage lane was working with the descendants of those people, and they spoke their language, and it was you're doing it for real, because years later I was like, here I was doing a raid, in the jungles of Asia, with a bunch of dudes I don't speak their language with, So it's just really funny, because like that, it literally prepares you to do the job.
Yep.
In the most extreme scenarios, but it teaches you all the ancillary things that you do, the building the rapport, the being an expert, technically and tactically proficient in what you're doing, leading people of different cultural backgrounds, speaking different languages, building that trust, camaraderie, regardless of knowing the language or not, but breaking those barriers down and actually building bonds with people. And I think Robin Sage is probably the most fun you'll ever have in the Q course, because then at this point you've been waiting and waiting and waiting to just do your job. And now
do some more.
Now you get to do it for real. Well, not for real, but like in a practice environment. You talk to any of the Green Berets that went into Afghanistan, they said it was Robin Sage on steroids. And a lot of what I've done, the Green Berets that came before me, I think in the Philippines, especially when I did OEFP, here we are, we're out, 120 man commando raid force going out after terrorist camps, HVIs, Marwan, Basid Uzman, Sawajan, Sahiran. These are all, ancient names in the war on terror, but like specific to the Philippines, like the things that you learn, in the Q course is the same thing. Technically be technically and tactically proficient, MDMP, military decision-making process, special forces planning, just do your training, man. And you'll come out on top. I think you'll find yourself in situations where you'll be putting it all together. I think what makes us a little more, what makes us very unique is that there's always different ways of making mission. And the beautiful thing about being a Green Beret is kind of like you're a Swiss Army knife. They could send you in there with I'll quote, I love this man, Sergeant Major Chuck Ritter, right? I had the fortunate experience of being at the senior leaders course, and he was like the NCOIC of somewhere in SWIC, and they had him be our guest speaker. He's a multiple Purple Heart recipient. I think he's a 3rd group guy, and just full of great friggin' stories, man. And he described being on an ODA like this, right? So you have Joint Special Operations Command. You've had guys on here that have been in, tiered units, and et cetera, right? Very sexy, right? A lot of money, a lot of focus, very important mission. But being on an ODA, a Special Forces ODA, according to Sergeant Major Chuck Ritter, is like, they're on the yacht, and, it's beautiful, it moves fast, dudes are tanning, they got babes. An ODA is like being on a pirate ship, man. And you're with the pirates. We haven't fucking eaten in days. Johnny's got scurvy again, so it's like, right? You're on the pirate ship and it's dirty, but you're getting it done.
Yep.
You're getting it done, man. And you're figuring it out. And that's the thing the beauty I love about special forces that's unique and compared to every other unit in the military is that we'll send us into a place with a problem. A couple months we'll have solutions. We'll figure it out. And the thing is about being a master of the basics, simply a master of the basics. Everyone's a shooter first, then you have your job second, right? And everybody supports one another to make the mission happen. I think of like some of the hardest things I did was when I was at 18 Fox on the ODA. We were looking at this ISIS target in southern Philippines, Tokboy, and he was a facilitator, moving men, weapon, and equipment up through Indonesia into the back door, General Santos City, up into the SPMS box, and supporting all these, what would be the Mate brother, the Mate group, who was a black flag ideology, jihadi group in the Philippines. Kind of convinced elements of Abu Sayyaf group of pledging to ISIS. They were just as dangerous as the Abu Sayyaf guys, right? And Green Berets, we've been hunting these guys for years, and to having some success, routing them out of their camps, or many of us have attempted to go do the Marwan raid. And so I myself and a lot of guys I know have done the exact same thing. We've all give it a good old college try. But so looking at like Tokboy was, he was his facilitator, and I'm thinking, this is some Green Beret out of the box thinking. It's like, hey, we're going there to train them. Why don't we train with the unit that's targeting this guy? He's on our targeting deck. He's a bad dude. Let's be a good Green Berets and figure it out. And so we ended up, I ended up, doing all this intel work, right? To, as 18 Fox on the team, your job is, you're the intelligence sergeant of the team. So in the assistant operations. So intelligence drives operations. And basically we're like, hey, if we work with this unit, when we go on this trip, we can build a whole program around taking down this target. And that's exactly what we did. And so that's some like sort of outside the box thinking that Green Berets do. That whole project probably cost maybe $1 million, right? Maybe $1 million, like, of government, but mostly it was in air. Getting us down there, getting us, getting us down there and ammo and our equipment and everything else and stuff like that. So it's like, I think of like, in terms of dollar, if you're going to dollar cost average results, special forces is the way to go. And that's what kind of I saw was like, sort of the dollars and cents behind it. And I think, but also making the most of your time, right? I mean, you can go anywhere and, train people, whether they do with it, but like, this was not necessarily a new concept. It was just say, hey, why don't we just make the most out of our time? Yeah. Let's operationalize this, And so I think that was probably, that point I was a senior guy on a team. That was probably even in Iraq, that was the hardest thing I did because of all the coordination, the delicate dancing. It wasn't like we were in CENTCOM in a declared theater of armed conflict where anything goes, not necessarily anything goes, but you're like, here's all the targets, kill, capture, right? Yeah. Kill, capture, there it's, in Asia, you have other partners, you got to work with that. You have legal constraints and you have to work within, it's not like we can just like, jump in a Hilux and drive up the road and, raid this guy's place. No, it's not like that, So.